I titled this video, How Did I Get Here and Why Aren't You, Part 1. And when I say why aren't you, I mean, why aren't you taking on a new adventure? Or why aren't you taking control of your future? And when I say Part 1, I just mean that this is the first part of a 4-part series. In this video, I'm going to share with you what got me thinking about my future and the idea that maybe just like you, I really didn't have much of one to look forward to. You will get to see where the phrase go big or go home came from, or at least for me anyway. And then we're going to see how much it can cost to try to actually gain control over your future. Just watch this video. You'll see what I mean. Part 1 starts in the summer of 2021. I found myself in my mid-50s, divorced for about 15 years with full custody of my 2 kids, who were now in their late teens and took care of most of their own wants. Not their needs, I still took care of all that stuff. I was working hard every day in my handyman business. I was saving money when I could, and I was single. I was single because I gave up dating to raise my boys without adding any more confusion to their lives. Basically, I was existing. I was just surviving. I believed I was doing what needed to be done during this phase of my life. My 5 to 9 journey was still focused on raising strong, capable, and moral young men. But I needed to do more with it. I needed to start paying attention to my future. One day, my oldest, I think he was about 18 at the time, walks in my room and says,
"Why don't you buy some land?"
And I say,
Why do I want to buy land?
and then he says,
Everybody should own land.
and he said it with that, isn't that obvious tone that teens are really good at. Then he just turned around and walked away. But the seed had been planted. I started thinking, why wouldn't I want to own land? And just like that, my new 5 to 9 journey had just been created. The quest for land. The next morning, before heading off to a job, I was up early sipping coffee, scrolling through LandWatch, looking for property for sale. I didn't really know what I was looking for. I was just trying to make myself aware of what was out there, what was possible, just collecting data points to start sifting through in my head. As I found more and more places that looked interesting, I started to make a spreadsheet to keep track of all the variables, because there's a lot. Eventually, I figured that if I was going to buy land, it might as well have a house or a cabin or a structure of some sort. Even if it was crappy, that you would never live in. I usually meant that there was power, water, and septic already in place. And as it turns out, those things are really expensive to add unimproved land. Estimates were 50 grand or more. So if they're already there, that's a win. And somewhere along the lines during this search, I started to actually question whether I should be trying to buy land if I don't have enough money in savings to retire on. And then I kind of realized that I would never have enough money in savings to retire on, especially if my future was going to be as expensive as my present. Meaning that I couldn't retire and still afford to live in the neighborhood where I currently live, or in this town. You see, my boys and I lived in my parents' house. My mom has passed away, and we committed to stay in their home with him so he could live out his years in the home they built together. The upside is I didn't pay a mortgage, and I could still raise my kids in a pretty nice neighborhood. And the downside is I wasn't paying a mortgage, so I didn't currently own a home. And when my dad eventually goes to be with my mom, this house was going to get sold. And with the prices of homes now, I couldn't afford to buy another home in this area. So ultimately, I would be forced to move somewhere else, somewhere much less expensive. And with a little more introspection, I figured that since I was still single and in my 50s, it was a real possibility that I would end up alone once my boys moved on with their own lives. And probably like most of us, I was okay with that. But I would still need a place to go, a place to live, and I would still need to lower my overhead by a lot. So the plan was to find some cheap land, hopefully with some type of structure on it, that I could improve over time while I was still making money. Then once I stopped making money, I could move in and start the living alone part of my life and hopefully enjoy really low overhead. That's a good plan, I think, but it's going to be hard to do. This is what my 5 to 9 journey had become: buying some land so I can control my future. I looked every day on LandWatch and Zillow for about 4 months, expanding the search diameter each time, looking for something that would work for me, something that I actually could afford. I wanted to stay in Texas, somewhere close to where my boys might be, so I could still visit and not become too much of a hermit. And then it happened. I found a cute, small cabin on 6 acres off the Trinity River with a creek that ran along the back line of the property. It wasn't too expensive either. It sounded perfect. It was the most reasonable property on my spreadsheet. I reached out to the listing agent, and the first thing he told me was, "It's in the floodplain and won't qualify for financing. This needs to be a cash deal." I was like, oh crap. I could tell from the pictures though that the cabin was on stilts, like a beach house, and apparently while the cabin has never flooded itself, the land underneath the cabin would flood at least once a year. It floods to the point where you need a John boat to get in and out of it. There was also a 1-lane bridge over a creek to access the property, and that got covered with water more than a few times a year. So this property already had a couple of major hurdles to get over, and we haven't even looked at it yet. I started thinking, if I could figure out how to buy it for cash, then I wouldn't have a mortgage, and that was part of my plan to keep my overhead low. And maybe I could just go visit the kids during the times when it got flooded. That could work. Or maybe just tie a little boat to the deck and paddle out of the flood zone when I needed to. That wasn't going to be a challenge I was afraid of. I was now officially making excuses on why spending all of my savings to buy this little cabin in the woods with its 2 major hurdles was a good idea. I think I was just feeling desperate, and I wasn't going to slow down my momentum, I guess, at this point. Another reality check was, since it floods every year, you can't even have a garden or plant fruit trees or have chickens or grazing animals or anything like that. It's even hard to have a dog if you don't have a yard for a couple weeks a year. I don't really think I cared about all that though. I really just needed to take a step toward controlling my future. I decided that I was going to see how much cash I could actually come up with if I liquidated everything I'd put away for retirement. This was gonna be the first step. I actually didn't get very close to the asking price. I got about 75% of the way there. Not bad, but far short. But my son and I decided to drive up there and take a look at the property anyway. It's in East Texas, about halfway between Dallas and Houston, about 3 hours from where we currently live. And driving out to see this cabin was gonna be step 2. We traveled through some really pretty pasture land, full of cows, rolling hills, cross fencing, and small lakes. We went from highway to 2-lane paved road to a 1-lane paved road to a gravel road, and then to a dirt road. And that dirt road led over a 1-lane wooden bridge down to a side road with a lock gate.
Just pulled up.
If we had kept going straight on that last dirt road over the bridge, about another 1/10 of a mile, we would have run straight into the Trinity River. So backing up, through the lock gate is a private road with only a few structures on it. All of the little cabins were on stilts. So we were sitting in the floodplain at that point. We found this little cabin, which has been apparently unused for the last 3 years. And it's been unkept and completely overgrown. The owners lived up north and used it during the winter to escape the bitter cold of Wisconsin. But they had gotten too old to travel this far anymore and decided to let that part of their life or retirement go. Now, their loss could be my gain. And that, gentlemen, is how I got here. Looking at an abandoned cabin in the woods on 6 acres in a floodplain, wondering if all the cash I had to my name was enough to make it mine. So, to answer the question from the beginning, how much does it cost to try and gain control over your future? The answer? It's going to cost everything. I invite you to stick around for part 2. We're going to take a tour of this cabin and find out if I should or even could make it part of my future. And I feel like this third step is going to feel more like a leap.